Welcome to the second ever episode of The Art Investor. This is a podcast designed not to update you on art market news or give you tips on how to make a profit trading art, but rather to provide a platform to emerging artists to reach an audience of fans and potential future buyers in an intimate, meaningful way. Like buying shares in a company early on, buying art is like owning a small piece of that artist's future success and providing them working capital to make more. The format is to have a long-form discussion with the artist where we cover their history or early influences, their inspiration and education, and their process, and then in the second section, to have the artist talk us through, in whatever level of detail they choose, 5 to 10 of their works. The idea for this section is that you leave this podcast playing in the background while you go to the Art Investor Instagram page and follow along with the numbered pieces we will refer to as we talk. Going off on tangents is really fun too. Once we're done with the numbered pieces, each episode ends with a series of rapid-fire questions. With that, let's get into it.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers, yeah.
Oh, ding ding.
Cool. So, how's life during COVID? I mean, how's it impacted you, and how's business and everything?
COVID's been, I would say, very stressful. What I've only realized now is that I've actually lost a huge amount of weight during COVID, which apparently is kind of the opposite direction to the way most people were.
Yeah, for me it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, really weird. But I'm putting it down to stress. In the beginning, obviously, there were so many unknowns and we didn't know what we were doing. I think that was quite hectic for me. I don't like to be in a space where I don't know what's going on. Just nervous. And then all of 2020's plans changing. That was quite hectic. And and I just threw myself back into work with, I guess, this underlining feeling of being nervous, which was great. It did actually put a fire under my ass, and I worked really hard. I've been working super hard till literally last week.
That's excellent.
But I would say overall it's been scary and it's been stressful. Yeah, it hasn't been cool. But I mean, in terms of affecting my business, certainly I've noticed a change in the market and who's buying. The amount of people buying art, that has dropped. So for instance, normally with a solo show, they've normally gone all quite similarly, except this time I've had 2 solo shows after lockdown, and the first one was quite just as normally successful in the opening night, but then after the opening night, just totally quiet, which is weird. Normally, work that hasn't sold will sell here and there, bits and bobs, but the gallery said there's been no foot traffic, no one in there, and so that was quite scary. And I guess I'm only really coming to terms with that now, but and then I had a second solo show last week, and I just made a whole lot of work that I really wanted to make, that was really exciting for me, and it was a fantastic step in a direction I've wanted to go in for so long, which was kind of surprising that it came out, because you can't really plan what's going to happen. In terms of, you can't really plan what kind of work is going to come out of you when you make it. And this I'd been planning to do for years, and I'd struggled. I tried, and some pieces didn't work. And for this show, somehow all these pieces were working. It's complicated, difficult pieces, but I was getting them out there somehow. So in terms of those, and how my business was affected with COVID with that second show, I've just kind of left it at it being like, wow, it was an exciting show because I made all these pieces, but I don't really know if they're going to sell or what. Although there has been a lot of interest and a few have sold.
So what I've heard from other artists is that they're selling better than they were.
Oh, really? Gosh. Oh, yeah.
And even garden designers and landscapers, they say people are spending more time inside and in their houses. So they, want to glam up their garden and their walls,
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes, it's kind of what I did, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
With gardening, I suppose. Less paintings, but yeah. Yes. So what I have noticed is that is a massive rise in commissions. That's been interesting. I've never had that before. So it's been weird that it's changed so dramatically so quickly.
Are you sure you're just not at that point in your career, or you think it's a result of COVID?
You mean? Oh no, not no. You mean in terms of where I am getting commissions?
Yeah.
No, because no, I don't think so. That's an interesting question, actually. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Next
but
time.
I don't think so, because I've had many commissions before. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what.
But that's very interesting, though.
I think people are
looking more online. You know what I mean?
They're looking maybe more online, and they're focused, and they're wanting to, as you say, get stuff for their homes. So I feel like maybe the people who are asking for commissions are. I feel like that's what they're doing.
How about this as a hypothesis? Before COVID, people go out not looking to buy whatever. They go out and go to a gallery, and they're like, "Wow, that piece is amazing. I want that." Oh, I have to find somewhere to put it. Rather than now, people are going like, "Wow, this one wall looks really empty. Let me try to get a piece," and then.
It's like the reverse.
Exactly. So maybe that's the case. That's a working hypothesis for now. But I'll have to interview more people too.
Yeah, no, I need to think about that. Yeah, I think it is true. I think we were cooped up in our places, and we were like, well, how do we make this better? And I know for me, I was certainly doing that a lot, but I was doing it because I rent my houses out through Airbnb, and so that was always the mission for me, just to make it look good when I rent it. So yeah, but I guess it's always there's that thing where people have said, oh, they're looking at their walls, and they're like tired of looking at ugly things on their walls. They want to look at pretty things. I don't know if that's actually true. Do you think people have done that?
I have,
It feels funny. I guess it's maybe true.
I don't get bored of pictures very quickly. I don't.
You don't get bored.
I can, I've got a picture wall in my flat that it's been there for ages, just like the same, and I love it just as much,
You said it's your parents' art.
Well, most of it's my parents' art, I must admit. but I designed that picture wall, and I love every piece on there. But I'm not going to go and change it up. You know what I mean? But maybe it's just, I love old cars, and for me, an old car gets better over time. So maybe it's just personal. I don't know.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I like old cars too.
Yeah, did you see my Merc?
No, wait, is it?
Out there, yeah. That nice
I
one.
Didn't see it. Oh, cool.
I have to edit that out. Wow. My word.
My dad. We can edit all this out.
Yeah. So you grew up in Cape Town?
Yes, yeah.
Your whole life, just like me?
The born and raised Cape Townian. Yes. Yeah.
Very boring, yeah.
We're the best.
We have the same name. But what suburb? I come from Hart Bay originally.
Oh, right. So I guess in my former years, I was in Kenilworth.
We can say that now, former years.
So southern suburban boy, which I feel is very boring.
Yeah, me too.
And then, my folks actually, when we were younger, they said, Chris, which high school do you want to go to? Do you want to stay on this side, or do you want to go to like the other side of the mountain, which I'd never been to? Obviously, I'd been there, but it was always like a million miles away. I think that's a Cape Townian thing.
Yeah.
And I was a bit of a dreamer as a kid. I still am, but it was number one, the hands down the cleverest decision I made to say I want to go to Campsby High School, because then we moved this side, and instead of cold evenings, it was sunset over the sea.
Suburbs.
Very, very lucky
to
have had that. And so I guess I spent half of my life on the one side of Table Mountain, and then the rest on the other.
Kind of like me, I guess.
Felt a bit like that.
but this side is quite nice. I do like it, but I prefer to go to seek out a sunset and then go and view it, and not have it every day all the time. Yeah, no,
I don't like sunsets anymore.
Oh yeah, wow. Okay, so that's proof. I shouldn't really go live that side. So do you study art? Did you go to university and do it?
I did. I took after. I mean, I studied art in high school, and I did that mainly because my mom was an artist, and my dad is also an artist. He's an engineer, but he always and still does work with a pencil on a draftsman's table. I think that's what it's called.
I don't know.
A draftsman's board. I'm not sure. Actually,
I'm sure the people concerned will know what you're talking about.
So I guess old school, because people that he has now all use AutoCAD and other things. But I guess raised by two creatives, and my mother had an art studio in the house, so I was familiar with paint and an art studio and that kind of thing. So I studied art in high school with the intention to be an artist. And I took a gap year after high school, and where not much happened. And then I came back from overseas, and I was too late to apply to Michaelis, which is where I really was thinking, like, that's the only place to go. I didn't really know. I just didn't do a lot of research.
Yeah.
But I was too late. So I was like, oh, damn, I guess I gotta go do some research on this. And the second place I came up with was Ruth Prowse School of Art in Woodstock. And the first day I went there, I just totally fell in love with the building. It's been renovated now, but it was kind of this old creepy ghost house. It was beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. And I was like, this is 100% the place I wanted to go to. And I had 3 years there. Fantastic time. Just sort of trying to, I don't know, figure it out.
And would you say an art teacher, their style or your mum's style influenced you early on?
I think that my mom's style definitely influenced me. My mom passed away when I was 18. So I was very dedicated to kind of bring my mother's art forward. She left me all of her art equipment, and which I was very lucky to have and still have, and treasure very much. But I was really wanted to take what she was doing in her later days and use that in what I was doing at Ruth Prowse.
You wanted to keep it alive, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. So
that's exactly the kind of thing I was hoping to uncover with that question, you know.
Oh, okay.
But has it sort of bled into your current stuff or later stuff? Yeah.
Excuse me. So what my mom would do. So she did these two radically different things. In the beginning, so my mom passed away from cancer, but in the beginning, before she knew about that she had cancer, she painted ceramics, but she did really pretty sellable things like flowers and elephants and
sellable. Yeah.
And then she contracted cancer, and her whole genre of painting completely changed into a much darker thing and a much more and using a lot more what's the word, I guess subconscious, and using her intuition, so she would throw paint down on a piece of board, and very runny paint, and then blot it out with pieces of paper, and they would make this very abstract canvas or board, and then she would try to look into the image and see what came out, and then paint that. So it was all kind of stuff that was really just coming out of her subconsciously, and then and these images that came out were intense. They were like quite dark imagery of masked people, and these dark color palette, like dark reds and dark browns and dark greens, and it was quite a shock, I guess, to all of us. And we're like, well, she's working through this, and the textures that were in those paintings were so cool and hectic, and I really loved that about the work. So I'm always trying to bring texture into my pieces since the beginning, studying Ruth Prowse till right now. So it's all about like making marks without actually using a paintbrush, I guess.
Yeah, well, if you look at your latest stuff now, it like pops out at you. You know what I mean? Like that's like the nth degree to what you're saying. It's taken to the nth degree. You know what I mean?
Thanks. Yeah. Pushing it. Hopefully, that's what I'm doing. So.
There we go. An established correlation. You know, your mum did this, now you do this. No, it's not that. That's not that. It's easy. You know.
Yeah, but I like to hear. I very much like to hear you say that, because yes, it's not that easy, but it feels right to hear that, you know, my what I'm doing now comes from history.
It doesn't have to be exactly the same, you know what I mean? But it can be inspired by what she taught you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. That's a very cool thing.
So, can you take us through like your process, or like just like you don't have to go into detail. You can go into detail if you like, but basically like. Okay, so I understand that like sometimes it comes naturally, like you don't have to think about anything, you know what I mean? But sometimes you get like sort of painter's block, you know, and you have to kind of get into the mood, or like curate your mind in a way to get that into that flow. How do you get yourself into that flow state again? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, I guess I'm experiencing it literally right now, because I've just had a solo show, and there is this huge, you're working, you're building up, you're like, you're every minute is like really important, and you're getting everything in, and the ideas are coming in, and you're just like really absorbing everything. And then you're like, get the show done, hang all the works, have the exhibition, and boom, it's the end, you know, and you're like, whoa, okay. That just ended. It's always this hectic, it's like just falling off a cliff in a way. And so I'm in the falling space where I need to land and figure out what's going to happen next. And I've been waking up. I'm trying to take it easy on myself, but I'm also like, what's the next thing? And it's tough because your brain doesn't necessarily jump immediately or step into like, oh, okay, that's the next thing I'm doing. This is the image I want to make. So I'm gonna have to kind of build the momentum up, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
To get going. And there is one thing that really helps that, and that is happiness. I know it sounds really silly, but if I'm not happy, there's no way I'm gonna make any work at all.
Seriously? Okay, so that's just personal. Like personally, you feel like that.
Yeah, for me personally, yeah, that's a personal thing. I don't know if it's a thing, but I guess some artists maybe channel their unhappiness into work. That's not what I do at all. I don't know. I can't do that, because if I'm unhappy, then I just go into a dark space. I go into a completely non-creative space. It's a dark space.
Oh yeah, it's like for me as well. Just like, you know, when you're unhappy, it's very hard to work. You know, I like to feel I do things out of inspiration rather than out of fear. If I did things out of fear, I would have studied accounting. You know, like.
Well, it'd be interesting to know if you could push yourself to do things out of fear. I think definitely, that would be like a huge mental challenge.
Yeah, but you need to have, like everything else in your life has had to lead up to like forming your mind to respond to fear.
Right. Yeah, unless you're, I guess, like a crazy genius and you can alter your brain matter, which I'm always trying to do.
Yeah. So you don't find that you have a specific way of sort of like going to spend time in nature, or a specific sort of like hack to get back into the zone, you know?
No. So yeah, a lot of people say, oh my gosh, you're going to the Kruger National Park. That's so cool. You can get like inspiration, you can draw, and not at all. Like, I don't get that at all. I always want to say, oh yeah, that's gonna happen, because it sounds so nice, but it's not that at all. I don't get inspiration from nature.
Yeah.
I guess like Monet, who built his own garden, and also I feel like as an artist, people are like, oh, you must be a great gardener, but also not a great gardener. So I guess nature, which is weird because actually a lot of my paintings have plants in it. But no, I it's so funny. Like right now, I almost don't even know how to answer that question. Like, how do I get back into it? I just start daydreaming, I guess, and then I'm like, I also pick up maybe words or sentences which I write down, and there's a kind of pushing towards maybe an image that I think I want to make. Like the other day, I was like, I'm like men in suits inside a room seemed really interesting to me, and like, how do I make that an image? So then I'm like just like kind of inspired. I guess it's just by being inspired by different things I might see here and there. Like, I maybe saw a scene on a movie where there's a whole lot of these men in suits in the room. I'm not sure why that's even in my mind, but maybe that's where I'll go next. Inspiration can come from random places, but I guess it's mainly my inspiration comes from viewing different imagery. It's so imagery from TV or from books or from the internet. I just kind of let them like go into my brain and trust that subconsciously it's going to filter that out and push out the image that I really like the most. Because I think I do have a tendency to just kind of pick up things that I like without really knowing that I like them, which actually can be dangerous in a way. But because you need to know where your references come from. But there's a trust in the process, and I really trust my intuition basically, and I just kind of go with it, and I feel really confident about it. So if I do see an image, which I was explaining earlier, which is something I might want to make soon, is a room full of businessmen in a room, but that's going to change. That'll morph, and it'll totally morph until the end product. Which could become anything. I really never know how it's going to.
But that's interesting, though. You know, like you touched on like a gardening aspect. So I love this idea of, and you hear authors talking about this as well. Are they architects or are they gardeners? You know, like, do they flesh out like the whole whole story, like all the plot points, all the characters, and then you fill in the dialogue and all the stuff and all the little machinations of everything? Or do you just garden, or you say like, I kind of know where I'm going, but I'm just going to garden my way there? You know what I mean? Because if you have a garden, like, it's not just, oh, that tree's going to look great right now. It's like, that tree's going to look crap for 3 years, and you're going to have to like trim it to make it look good. And you have to keep in your head all the different plants are going to grow, and you have to know what they're going to look like in 3 years, you know what I mean, over time. So would you characterize yourself as like an architect, like you or a gardener, painter, you know, or artist?
Yeah. Well, interesting. If I had to compare my art to gardening, I don't know if this is a bit of a cop out, but I'd like to say it kind of straddles the line of both.
No, that's fine. It's legitimate, of course, you know.
Yeah. If you had to say, well, what you're making me think of is formal and informal gardening. Is that kind of what you mean with? Okay, I didn't quite understand what you're saying.
Are you going to plan out like, okay, I want this, like, like, do you create structure and like themes and everything, and then you fill it in? Or are you like,
well, then
morph over time?
It would then be definitely straddling both lines, and I think that I would be more of the the gardener in the beginning, where I'm just kind of letting these rough imagery sort of float through and not really minding where things end up. But when it comes to the end of the painting, I'm like hardcore architecture, making sure each thing is like where it needs to be, and it actually gets a bit intensely formal, and like sometimes worry that I'm not breaking out of, I don't know, like I'm not breaking free. I'm like getting really hectic and like to pinpoint accuracy with my stuff.
That's very interesting. I mean, I don't think that's so bad. In the beginning, it's time for exploration, and then you can sort of like, if you think about, you know, your early 20s is a time for like exploration, and then you specialize and specialize and specialize, not as an artist, but as anyone, as someone in any career, whatever. That makes sense. Like as you paint yourself into a corner kind of thing, you know, as you progress with the piece.
As the work goes.
But in the beginning, it's like totally open, like blank canvas.
Yeah, I guess it is, and it's rough. It's rough, and I allow it, and I feel like I'm good at allowing it to be rough, and then when it needs to get more rounded off, then I get very technical. But I guess you have to watch out that you don't overwork your pieces. Like that could be an issue when it comes to being too technical. You need to know when to stop. And if an accidental splash is perfect, you need to know that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So, and not change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a section where guests discuss 5 to 10 works of theirs, covering whichever aspects and in whatever level of detail they're comfortable with. We'll refer to them as Image 1, Image 2, Image 3, etc. as we talk. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, and i.e. not on YouTube, then I highly recommend opening up Instagram, where you can see our numbering of the pieces in the image descriptions, and you can follow along at your own pace. But if you're on YouTube, then you don't have to worry about a thing, because we've got the slideshow in there with the numbered pieces. Great, so let's start with Image 1.
Image 1 is a great place to start because I love this image so much. The name of this painting is called Lime. It's really called Lime because he's got this lime. I'm thinking it's a beach ball on his shoulder, or he's kind of holding this beach ball. He's on the beach. Difficult to tell, but that's why I love this painting so much. And it was essentially the birth of me working on plexiglass. It was a painting I did in my garage, which was where my first studio was, which is literally below the seat that I'm sitting on right now. And it was... all of it was a happy accident. It was not working at all. So I decided to try to destroy it. And I think that was when I realized that mistakes and accidents are key to making great paintings. Of course, at the time they're not good, but when you try to fix them, it just always somehow makes the painting great every single time without fail.
Is that because your expectations change, or do you think it's...
Oh, I suppose my expectations get lowered hugely. And then
No, but they get lowered initially. They get lowered initially, and then you're like, okay, I'm freed up to like do something, and then at the end it might turn out really great.
Yes, it's always quite a brave thing to get to a point in a painting where you are saying this is not working. No one else is telling you it's not working. You're like, okay, I don't know why this is not working, but my mind, the line of beauty is not happening in my eye or my mind or whatever. And you're like, okay, well, I've just worked really hard on this. Let me throw a whole lot of turpentine on this painting. It's a bit of a brave, bold move. And for me, it just like always works. And this one was just, I don't know, it was just great. Luckily, I know the person who owns this painting, so I can go to his house and take a look at it. And that is something I want to do, actually. Go into his house and look at this painting and just try to analyze it a bit. Because something, I mean, when I saw your exhibition, I was like, okay, I understand the plexiglass thing now, because it doesn't pop out like it does in real life. If you just see the image in real life, they pop out at you, Thank you. Yeah. That's the case with my plexiglass work, which we're going to focus on throughout all these images, and you have to see those works in the flesh.
Yeah. No, seriously,
you really do.
Yeah.
It does make a huge.
It made sense to me when I saw them. I was like, wow, okay.
That's it. Yeah. Just a great painting. It's my desktop image. Actually, at work. Yeah.
Awesome.
I just love it.
Yo.
Anyway, Lime.
Awesome.
That's that one.
Okay, let's move on to Image 2.
Image 2 is a portrait of a wonderful human being. His name is Powder. And I just saw him walking. I was at the window of my studio looking out, and I saw him walking down Obbs Lower Main Road, which is where my studio was. And I thought, that guy is super interesting. I need to paint him. And ended up painting this painting. And it was really cool because he was just so open to coming into my studio and me taking photographs of him. He was just the most incredible model. And again, it was a bit about happy accidents, because there's lots of parts of his face that are not essentially painted, but happened wonderfully. There's a blue line which kind of shows his jaw. There's like a giant sort of peach on his head. I don't know really what. It looks like a peach. But I don't know. It just speaks to me. And I guess Powder is also just such a great character. I know him, and he just has an energy about him. So for me, it was kind of this yin yang of like making parts really definite, and then other parts were just left. I just really enjoyed.
I really like the gold leaf, like well, not gold leaf, but like sort of Roman emperor sort of gold leaves. You know, it's really cool.
Yeah, I should have. I mean, at that time, I work with gold leaf on plexiglass. I didn't at that time. And this was actually the first solo show. This piece was a part of my first totally plexiglass solo exhibition. I've only had 2 like that, but I didn't know as much then about the process, about the medium as I do now. But still very cool painting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Image 3.
Image 3 is called Portrait of Janelle. I've done many paintings of Janelle. She is epic person and model, and I had she had no idea what she was getting herself into. I said, listen, you want to come around? I'll take photographs of you. She just was amazing. She is a full-time professional model, and she is wow. I mean, I don't get to work with I've never worked with a full-time professional model. She just came in and just gave me friggin' everything. And she did this one pose that was this image on this beautiful chair, which I had from an antique store. And I just thought it was just, I don't know, there was just something about the arms and the legs and the composition and the legs of the chair. And it just seemed balanced and yeah, great. And again, it's on plexiglass. There's actually 2 layers. So the flowers and the gray background are on the board behind, and she is painted with glass stain and ink on the reverse side of plexiglass. So the kind of marriage of those 2, the board and the plexiglass, it just worked out really well. It was a tough painting, but I'd still view it as just, I don't know, just one of my favorites, really.
I can see what you mean about balance.
That's my husband cooking dinner for us. Sorry. He's making no, but he's doing a good job. Shame. He's saying sorry. We're going to enjoy the dinner later.
I can see what you mean about balance. That's what I thought when you first started talking.
Yeah, I think if you cut it down the middle, it's actually quite it's quite symmetrical. And actually, I think it's something a lot of people don't really realize about almost all my work is if you cut it down the middle, the left side looks like the right. It's something I've always tried to fight, but it just comes out that way.
I know what you mean. I have that as well, but I'm sure mine is a lot less interesting.
Your what? Do you paint?
No. Oh. I just mean like when I arrange anything, like it's like kind of like I want it to be kind of symmetrical, Oh. And I'm sure that I'm just saying that my inclination is much less interesting than your inclination to do that. That's what I'm saying.
I'm sure it's not. So Portrait of Janelle.
Awesome. Okay. Image 4?
Image 4. This is a portrait from the same exhibition. So I didn't mention Portrait of Powder and Portrait of Janelle and Portrait of Samuela, who is my stepsister, actually. They were all from the same show. And this was an interesting piece for me because it ended up looking like this, and it didn't look like this when it was in the exhibition. It was in the exhibition and it didn't sell, and it was around for a while, and it was just kind of in my studio and it wasn't selling, and I was like, well, it's time to mess this painting up because something's wrong with it, obviously. So it had been sitting in my studio collecting dust for like 3 years or something, and I thought, okay, fine, I'm just gonna throw a whole lot of acetone on top of it and just let the chips fall where they may, or the paint particles fall where they may. And I did that, and the most astronomical thing happened. She ended up becoming this ghost image, which was amazing. All the necessary details just came out, like the lines in her fingers and her eyes, and nothing seemed to disappear. It all just seemed to come right, and it was very much a similar occasion to the first painting, which was lime, where it was, okay, something's wrong, I'm just going to mess it up. And it just didn't get messed up. It got better. So yeah, it was a moment where I was like, okay, you need to start pushing through the boundaries. You need to start not being stuck with all these hurdles that you keep on pushing for yourself. You need to think out the box, I guess, which seems so obvious as an artist, but it's tough sometimes.
Was she kind of bland? Was it kind of like meh this before? Was it
right? Yeah, I guess I wish I had an image to show what it was before.
Maybe not. I mean, maybe you don't want to show anyone that, you know.
No, I don't mind. Actually, it's quite interesting for the story. But well, the background was firstly different. So because I work on different layers, there's a plexiglass layer and there's a background layer. The background was full of plants and I guess very similar to the Janelle painting. So just went totally white, which then focused in on the image. And I don't know how to describe how it was different. It just, if you can see the flowing, it looks like kind of a puddle has landed on top of her. That puddle wasn't there before. But yeah, somehow the puddle just didn't erase the things that I wanted it to.
Yeah, it makes, I mean, like, you know, some things are like better like hinted at rather than shown explicitly, you know what I mean? And so it's more alluring if it's sort of, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I mean, that's what stands out to me, you know, like.
Yeah, that's for me one of the most difficult things to do in art is to make an image that you can see without really knowing why you can see it, or really being able to define like why do I know that's a face if it's been painted so abstractly. And it's like, well, how did that artist do that? I don't know. That's for me the thing I'm always searching for.
With machine learning, one day we might know that image. Like, I mean, that answer to that question. Like,
with what learning?
With machine learning.
What is machine learning?
Machine learning is where you show a computer algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
A computer.
Right.
A lot of images.
What's a computer? Kidding.
You show a computer like many images of cats or dogs or whatever, and over time the computer learns. So you have like training data, and you say to the computer. So it's like telling a little kid, like, no, that's a dog, not a cat, you know, and this is a cat, not a dog. Computers can do that, like, you know,
cool.
thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of times a second, you know. So over time, the computer learns what
what a cat is.
It looks like. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's a cat.
But doesn't just, you know what I mean? Like, the more you train it, the more it knows that it's a cat, no matter what position, what angle you.
Oh, like even if it's
if the cat's upside down, or like
if there's just cat food. No cat at all.
I don't know about that.
And maybe a cat is near.
I don't know about that, but maybe maybe one day we'll know exactly what makes
our brains understand things.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
I guess I don't want them to know that.
And me either, you know.
Yeah, because then I'll be maybe out of a job. Then I feel like.
No, man. No, like I still don't really like. I that's a cool topic as well. But we're in the middle of this section. But hey, it's a very cool topic. But for me, I like it's just about as much about the artist as the artwork. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I don't like. I find it interesting if a computer like generates music, or, you know, I find it interesting, but it's. I don't connect with it like, oh, this is what the person must have been feeling, or this is that stage of their career I can relate to the feelings that I had when I went through something like that.
Definitely takes away the person.
Exactly. So I think, I mean, like, you know, I think that psychologists and artists, like, they'll be the last professions to go, you know?
Oh, goodness, thank God.
Yeah. Okay, onward.
Yes. Okay, onward, yes. Okay, this is a painting.
What are we on? Image 4?
We are on 5, I think. 1,
2, 3, 4, 5. My bad.
No worries.
Too much champagne. It's not my fault.
I guess that's my fault.
It's his fault.
More champagne to come.
All of that
out. This one is called Meta Minerva, and the reason why this is an important piece. This hangs in my home, actually, just around the corner from where we're sitting. But the reason why this is an important piece for me is because I'm bringing in a third element, which is the strips of fabric, the orange strips of fabric that sort of come down from her shoulders and disappear out the bottom of the painting, which unfortunately you can't see, but it actually really goes, the fabric comes much further down and sort of rests on the floor. And it's taking plexiglass and the back canvas or board, if it's canvas, and opening up a gap in the middle of that and putting something in the middle. And it's just me pushing like, okay, we're talking about thinking out the box. Yeah, just like, what can I do with this? How 3D can I get with this medium? And how can I incorporate other elements into it to give a different feeling or to describe something else? And yeah, and a lot of people see this work and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so scary. I'm going to have nightmares. No one's really said that to me, but I think someone in my mind thought, like, I was like, oh my God, will this give someone, I don't know why this gives someone nightmares, but some people got scared. I didn't like it. But it's hanging on my walls. I love it. But I forget where I was going to go with this one. But it's important because it's something I haven't done a lot of. I think I did 3 of this, and it's something I'm going to push further and hopefully not make it too scary. I don't find it scary, but other people have said it's scary. I don't know why the legs maybe are dark.
It is, just so you know, it's a faceless spaghetti monster.
Okay.
That's what it is, by the way. Like, okay. Just so you know. Like.
Right. Well, you see, this is when images come out not exactly the way you planned. It's really supposed to be a figure drawing lesson with some cloth. I mean, but I guess because she's faceless, I suppose. But there's an outline of a face there's a silhouette of a sort of face at the top there.
Oh, okay.
Well, but it's also hidden. Somehow it's creepy, but the important thing to note is that the fabric's somehow sandwiched in between. Not somehow, I know how it is. Sandwiched in between. Somehow the art fairies came and did this. I don't know. And the fabric's coming through, and I could use this for further work.
Awesome.
Image number 5, Meta Maneuver. Now image number 6.
Image number 6, yeah. Okay,
so this is a much more recent image than the last one. It's called Broken Pieces. Yeah, because I just felt like there were all these pieces sort of coming in from the outside and sort of wrapping themselves on top of her. And yeah, this piece was, it's funny, actually, I'm just realizing that this was another piece that went wrong and I had to destroy it, I guess, to really make it right again.
Doesn't look like it, you know.
Yeah, no, I suppose it was moving between being a gardener and then an architect and then a gardener, if that makes sense. And yeah, for me, again, okay, I don't know if you can notice, so there's a big blackishy brown patch of solid color above her left eye. And that's just a whole lot of thick paint on top of the plexiglass, and she's behind it, and then there's canvas going on with a sort of gradient of pink into blue, which is meant to symbolize a sort of sunset. And it was, I guess, the first time that I was like, you know what, why am I not painting everywhere on these things? Like, I'm just paint on top and on the back and like on the front and like all over it and just like scratch this thing up and get really angry with her. And yeah, I did that, and it's ended up being this piece. So this was quite a new piece for me. I hadn't pushed it that far. It's funny how it like took me like 5 years to like go, oh, maybe I should paint on top of the plexiglass. Weird. But I think it's classical. It's like getting caught up in your classical training. And you kind of get stuck in that space. You need to move away from it. Sometimes it's not really good to go to art school and learn things. You should try to unlearn things. I've been taking me a long time to unlearn stuff.
Yeah. So I studied music, and if I were to tell a young person, 18 or 19 or whatever, you know, or 17, like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to recreate classical? Do you want to recreate the jazz idiom, the jazz language? Then if you want to do that, then go study, you know, but if you don't want to do that, then go your own way, like, seriously, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, with the proviso that obviously you're going to be a shit-hot musician and you're going to be able to play anything if you know how to play jazz or classical, like, really well.
Yeah, that's true.
But are you a like you a performer or are you like a creator? You know what I mean? Like go your own way. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And with art, I think there is it's very easy for people to get stuck in one space, and you might go like, oh well, surely they can just like do one painting that's not in the way that they were taught, and then they'll know. It's not like that at all. Like it takes, I don't know, for me it's just it takes a long time for me to break down the barriers that stop me from doing things I think I should do. I still feel like I need to be like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. Like if I make this painting, it might not, I don't know, do whatever I expected someone's told me it should do.
Yeah.
Like that needs to stop being a thought in my mind.
Yeah, probably it'll happen over time. You know what I mean? Everything happens over time. Like
maybe it's appropriate. This painting is called Broken Pieces because you need to break stuff in order to make stuff. Oh God, a poet. So
image number
seven deadly sins. So this is coming off this show that I have just done now.
I remember this one, and really this pops out at you. You know, the hands pop out and the table pops out, and you're like, whoa, when you see it in real life. You know, cool.
I hope that you're seeing the progression of this work going, because it is in chronological order. This was just a fun painting to make. It was just, I knew what I wanted to do. It just kind of came about. I was just like, I want this head and I want these plants to come out of it. And I'd been working a little bit with vases in still lifes, but then like transforming the vase into a face. And really the idea came from looking at ancient African, I don't even think they're ancient, I think they're just African monster vases. I don't know where I came across this stuff. And I was like, oh gosh, well, I love portraits, I love still lifes. How do I incorporate it together? And I was like, well, okay, why is a vase not a face? That can be the face. And why are plants not hands? And why are
okay, and it doesn't sound, on second thought, it doesn't sound so crazy, because you know some plants, I mean, that's a leaf, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, if you had to very in a rudimentary way draw a plant, it kind of could be a hand. And then a lot of people are like, well, but oh my gosh, but you're making me look at dismembered body parts. This is so hectic.
Are people still like that?
I get some people like, why are the body parts all in pieces?
I mean, after Dali, like, surely everyone would be like, whatever.
Why do you keep wanting to cut all like body parts up? It's not that way for me. I don't see it as like body parts that are cut up. It's representing a section of a body part that's there. And and that could be doing anything. So yeah, I just had a lot of fun with this work, and sometimes those pieces are also just so nice. I mean, it's good for your psyche when you make a work that just flows and it just goes. I mean, it did take me a really long time, and I was like, oh gosh, I guess there was a point in the process of this work when I was doing the leaves, which were just like taking forever. I was just like, when is this going to end? And then I got into that. Then I knew I had to do all these complicated hands, which like the hands are some of the most difficult parts of the human anatomy to draw. And it just kind of flowed, and it just went right. And I was like, oh, it's just going. And then I went into painting the face, and then connecting the face with these sort of light turquoisey blue lines to the arms, and that was so cool as well. And then the table is a representation of the table that I work off of. It's got this kind of diving board, springboard thing in my studio. In this painting, you can see the G and the E are kind of at the precipice of this table, bound to sort of jump off. And I really sort of loved the asymmetrical
yes.
Version of that. And I wasn't going to do it. And then I was like, I'm working on this table. And then suddenly it came about. And then really just the table and the legs of the table being black and very rigid again, right up against these colorful organic things. It all just worked for me.
Awesome.
Again, if you cut it in the middle, it is a symmetrical work.
But it was low resistance for you.
It was low resistance, and probably from the previous paintings, because I knew what I was doing. I mean, I understood. I was like finally understanding, sections of this mad process. Yeah. So that was this painting. It's called Madame Suzanne's fork and knife rearrangement.
Because no, but it makes sense because it's knife and fork, you know.
Yeah,
people,
it's a fork and knife. Though. I mean,
people say to me, like, would you like a fork and knife? And I'm like, what, one of these, you know? And I hold up a knife.
Yeah, well, hopefully this painting makes you think
no,
of that.
When I saw it on Instagram and I saw the title, I was like, oh my word, someone else knows that pun, you know, or knows that joke.
Oh, cool.
Anyway.
I feel like I need to, fork and knives are going to be a bit more prominent in my work in the future, I feel. So I only did like two forks and one knife, and there's room for more.
Awesome.
Anyway, next painting.
Image number 8.
Yes, image number 8.
Wait, just check. Just is it 1, 2?
It is.
Yeah, cool. Image number 8.
Image number 8. The Cool AF Gang. This is an interesting painting because the dark blue man on the left with the silver tats everywhere and his hand on a violin, that guy was painted years ago, and that's all I painted. And I just had this idea for an image and it didn't work out. I was like gonna just have him sitting on a chair and there was gonna be like a background on a wall and whatever, and it just wasn't working. It was really it was just killing me. Anyway, wrapped it up, put it in the back storage section of my studio, and forgot about it. But always knew, I was like, you know, something might happen. And then this whole what you see now just came about for this show. It was in the same show as Madame Suzanne's fork and knife arrangements, and I don't know what happened. Maybe there was a period during lockdown where I was able to sit and think, which I was doing a lot, but I was thinking like, how can I make what I want to make happen? Because I was failing. Like, and the example was that I had this blue man. I just didn't know how to turn this into a final painting. And I think the process was sitting in lockdown and just literally thinking, and then coming out of it and suddenly kind of knowing what I needed to do. And suddenly all these other characters came in and it just worked. And I just painted it. The green background was not going to be there at all. In fact, I swore I was never going to use green ever again, actually. I was like, I don't like green. It's not a nice color. Which is weird because I've always loved green.
You wouldn't like my car then?
Oh, no.
I'm kidding.
No, actually, I disagree. Cars in green are lovely.
Oh, it's a nice light green. It's
and
not so bad. No, I'm kidding.
No, green is... green is my... I don't think I'm saying this properly. Green is literally my favorite color. But I think maybe that's why I ended up like flipping on it. I was like, I'm never going to use green.
Because you can't do it right.
It just never looked good in painting. There's way too many colors. I was always painting these like rainbow colors. It's like, what color do I get rid of? Oh, I don't like yellow. Get rid of yellow. Or I don't like green. But I use yellow so much as well. So maybe I don't know what colors I like and don't like. But anyway, it was not going to have this green background. And when it turned green, everything just made sense. It just kind of happened. Another painting that flowed. Yeah. What else can I say about this piece?
The dark guy with silver tattoos, left foot is insanely 3D on the top of the other guy's soccer boot. You know what I mean? Like it looks that part is really 3D. Like those feet down there are like.
Cool. Yeah, I love the shoes. Actually, I would say that the one thing that I just kept on loving were just the dude's white shoes and his green slippers and her black shoes. If you see it in real life and you look at all three of them, you're like, oh, these are all done totally differently. And all just cool. I just love that they're all different, but
And
they're all
then
the
you have
same
like
painting.
some guy with a webbed foot on the right. It's like totally different feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'd say that if you just look at the bottom section of this painting, that's all you need. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. But like you can tell a lot by someone from their shoes. You can look.
Oh, very true.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
You always better wear nice shoes, everyone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Image number 9.
Holy cow, this image. Boys vs. Beasts. I kind of wanted to give it a much longer title because it is a much more complicated piece than a lot of paintings I've ever made. And I wanted to make this crazy painting that your eye just was like not going to be able to rest on anything.
That's exactly what's happening to me right now. Like,
You're good.
And
Yeah.
I've seen it in real life, as well.
It's good to see it in real life. I think there's a 3-dimensional thing that goes on in there, and there's no place for resting here, and it's a frenetic piece, and I that's what I wanted to do, and it was the last piece I made for the show, and I generally always seem to make, like, I guess you kind of call it the pivotal piece. It was the pivotal piece for the show, and I always seem to do that as the last work. I don't know why, but it's just like, okay, Chris, let's just do this. That last piece has come in. Let's
Last
make
push.
it the one.
Yeah.
And it nearly drove me crazy because I didn't know when it was going to end, and it kept on feeling like it was never going to end. There was just like a next thing and a next thing and a next thing. And if anyone came to my studio and they were like, "Oh, look at what you're doing," and I was like, "Yes," and I'm about to add in guns, and they're like, "Well, where's that going to go?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, but it's going to go in there." And then I was like, "Okay, well, now I'm going to add lasers shooting out this one dude's eyes that have to be there." And people who were walking through my studio watching the process be like, "Okay." I remember one person saying after I had added the lasers, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you did add lasers." And I was like, "Yeah, I was serious
awesome.
about that."
Yeah. That's awesome.
And the last element that I added in here, which I love the most, and it was the scariest element because time was getting very... I was running out of time for this painting, for the show. It was all by the skin of my teeth. But the last element I added, and I knew it was going to be hectic because there was no way I could really undo the mark making if I made it. And it was the black lines that are essentially and the ties. These men are wearing ties. And they have this black line kind of snakes its way around. And
More like leashes.
right. Okay. Yeah. It depends how you see it. Depends if you're the dominant one or the non-dominant one. If you're
I've exposed myself.
you are the non-dominant one. Okay, that's cool. So for me, they're ties. Okay, I'm gonna work with leashes. I like this. Okay, but they're ties, and they just add this fine line in between everything that's quite chunky and big. If you look at it all in a sort of, if you blur your eyes and you look at it, and that it was just the final flourish, I guess. And I was just like, oh wow, it worked. Thank goodness. And yeah, it actually the ties. I guess the reason why I see them as ties, and the guys who have the ties are this kind of reoccurring character for me, which I call them the flaming bouquets, and they have these kind of flower heads. And in the beginning, it was literally just their heads were flowers, and the flowers are on fire, and they're these semi-naked men wearing just business ties, and I'm still not entirely sure what the symbolism of it is, but it feels very much like nature's being destroyed with these guys, but they're heroes, so I'm not sure. It's like they're these anti-heroes, I suppose. And yeah, they're kind of attacking these beasts, or the beasts are attacking them. I feel like you don't really know who's the good guy and the bad guy. I don't think the beasts are necessarily the bad guys, and I don't think the more human-like guys are the good guys. It's a painting of what ifs, and it's really about what the viewer wants to interpret, I suppose.
I love the devil wings on the upper right beast, but his face, that's my favorite part.
Oh, cool.
His face is amazing, like that face of that
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the faces came from old timey maps of and a friend-
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's where I've seen it. Like
yeah.
in the sea, like leviathans and things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have to quote
yeah.
a friend of mine who at the exhibition was like, "Thou shalt not go there in the map." I forget actually. I'm quoting it badly. But it's the part of the map where you do not enter.
Yeah, exactly. Like
you should not go because there are beasts there.
Monsters be here, or like
Monsters
there be
be.
monsters.
You see, you weren't even there, and you managed to quote it perfectly. Yeah.
Here be monsters.
Yeah. That's it. I should have named the painting that actually. But it is about monsters, and it's about it's about humans maybe being monsters too, I guess. I don't know. I'm not making too many serious...
If Game of Thrones has taught us anything, is that the pretty people are not always the good people.
And anyone can die in any episode.
not in like the second half of the series. Like anyway.
I haven't got into that last season.
Haven't you? Don't bother, you'll ruin it for you.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's one more painting.
Image number 10.
Image number 10. So this is not a plexiglass piece. Dum dum dum. Well, but what it does have is the elements of 3D, which is really what I want to focus on, the outside sections of wood that's been cut. And it ties back to the painting Meta Minerva, which was image number 4 or 5, I forget. But she had fabric inside of her. So it's about bringing in three-dimensional elements. And that's really the future. And I'm just sort of thinking, well, where can I go with this? Thinking out the box and thinking, what can I bring in? And how I don't know, how do I do something different again? It's always on my mind to do something new and different each time I have a show. So I just brought this in as my last image because firstly, I do love this image. And secondly, because I view it as one of the only pieces I've made that's got these cut out pieces of wood that I feel was super successful. And how can I bring that into the other work that I've been making with plexiglass? I'm not sure yet, but we'll keep your eyes on the space. We'll see.
Awesome. So it's like exploration.
It's an exploration, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so now do you want to opt in for both the medium fire and the rapid fire rounds of questions?
Oh, I didn't know this was happening. What's happening? What are you firing at me? Go for it. I'm ready.
Cool, awesome. They're not gonna it's not gonna ruin your career if you answer wrong.
No.
So is there something you would advise young artists to cultivate early?
I would say confidence in your own work.
Like believing in
believing in yourself and just not getting down on yourself and feeling very confident in what you make and carry on doing that. Yeah.
Like don't doubt yourself too much.
Your work is gonna get better. Practice makes perfect.
Exactly. Like you'll never be this bad ever again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will. You will get better. What's wonderful is that practice does make perfect. You will get better if you do more. And just to be confident, don't get down and don't. If you really love art, don't go like, oh, I think I'm going to give up.
And also, no one's keeping track. Like, I mean, there are some people, but like this podcast is keeping track. But overall, people, I mean, you know what I mean?
You're keeping track the most, for sure. Yeah.
Who's your favorite artist and why?
So I would say I'm really enjoying Louis Fratino's work. He's pushing the positive message of gay life, and he's normalizing gayhood, I guess. I don't know if that's the word actually, but he's normalizing that. And for me as a gay man, I really appreciate his work. It's beautiful and it's kind of timeless, and there's an openness to it too. You really feel like he's putting his emotions on the canvas with his brush, and it just feels good to see that, and I feel like it's a positive message, and for me personally, yeah.
What's the first good art book that comes to mind? It can be history, it can be anything.
Oh my gosh, the first good one that comes to mind is a Van Gogh book, which actually I saw in my dad's house, and I hadn't seen it before, and I just was like,
I'm taking that.
I just said, Dad, I'm taking this.
Yeah,
because I mean, I know his work. We all know his work. Hopefully we all know his work. And I don't know why, but it just felt like I was seeing his work anew again in this book. So it's sitting over there, Van Gogh. It's just got all of his paintings in it. I mean, if you had to ask me what my favorite deceased artist is, I'd probably say Van Gogh, but I think a lot of people would say that. But his work is just compositionally and color wise, there's just so much that I want to absorb and push it into contemporary pieces.
Natural creativity or determination? What's the percentage split, would you say?
Wow. Well, I don't know if you take much to star signs. I don't really, but I'm a Libran, so everything is balanced for me. I would say even medium. If you strike it even medium with anything in life, it's a very healthy way to go.
If someone's just got like no taste or flair and they're very determined, like maybe they could make something, but
no, I've seen that. It's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if someone has only the natural creativity and no determination to push through the hard bits,
that's also seriously sad.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think that's the difference. One is terrible and one is sad.
You need some sort of both of them. Yeah,
strike it even medium balance. Have some natural talent, which literally I really believe exists in everyone. It's just about practice.
But some people are just, a lot better than other people.
Okay, well, no,
I can draw trees pretty well. Like
there are some names that spring to mind, but I mean, I don't know many, but I guess I know what you're saying. But I think that determination is both of those things are so difficult. I mean, you might think, oh, well, the natural talent is hard, but the determination's also, there's two different things, which are like carry both of those feathers in your hat if you can.
What's the best piece of advice you've heard about being an artist?
So it wasn't a piece of verbal advice said to me, but there is a sentence that is literally never left me. And it came from inside the studio of a friend of mine. He had written on his walls, and it was confidence with every stroke. And that was such an important thing to say for me. I've just always taken that, and I think that one word that we spoke about for what I would say to artists is about confidence. So it's also about confidence with what you do, but it's just, you need to push that into the brush strokes that you make even, and that just, if you take a tentative brush stroke and you're scared, it'll come out wobbly and weird. But if you have that confidence and you just go and you put that brush stroke down, it feels good. You feel happy about that brush stroke. It'll look amazing, and everyone will see that. That will push you so far forward, I think.
Yeah, and
confidence with every single stroke.
Also, you'll get more done.
You're faster, I guess.
There's something to be said about practicing. Like if you've made 100 pieces in your life, you're going to be a lot better than if you've made 20 that you've thought about a lot. You know what I mean? If you thought really hard about 20, like
that's true. I think so.
Like
Absolutely.
for instance, okay, so I mean, it's in the other podcast that I did, and I always bring it up to people. Like Bob Dylan wrote like 500 songs. Like 3 of them are the ones we remember. Like the other, like the 400 of them are terrible. Like terrible.
Yeah, sure. And you don't go, oh, Bob Dylan, the guy who wrote all those shit songs.
No, you go like, oh my word, like blowing in the wind. Like
fucking amazing.
Times are changing. Like you know what I mean? So yeah, that's the analogy I always bring up.
No, but it's true.
If you weren't involved in art, what would you be doing?
I think I'd be an architect. Actually, we were talking about architects earlier, and so my ex-boyfriend had Sims, and he had all the extension packs, like
Sims is the computer game.
the computer game. Yeah.
Okay.
I never got into controlling a family and like
You just
making
want
whatever.
Me too.
But
like,
he had all the stuff that you could build like buildings with, and I was like, I got totally
immersed,
sucked in badly into building buildings.
Yeah.
Just building buildings in this game, which I said to my aunt, who was an interior designer, I was like, you need to get this game. You need to get all the extension packs because it's got everything in it. You need to play this game, build these buildings.
So that's arrangement more than like creation from scratch. You know what I mean? Or do you don't?
I guess it is.
You don't draw a line.
Well, you do have to arrange in that game because everything's set on.
Well, that's what
lines.
I'm saying. I'm saying like you're arranging furniture, arranging walls. Whereas like creating from scratch, nothing, blank canvas. Will you draw a line between those two things, or would you just say it's the same thing, whatever?
With drawing, with painting, and with building buildings and Sims.
Yeah, or drawing the line between painting or creation from scratch or arrangement.
Well, painting could be arrangement.
Exactly, right.
In a way,
just using the same old tools,
arranging
using
different things.
Yeah, using yellow and a paintbrush. It's just different granularity.
Yeah, I sort of feel like architecture probably would be so similar to painting, actually, because you end up with a building as opposed to a painting. But
what do you think the most telling signs are for the future success of an emerging artist?
It's a really hard question.
You can just skip that one.
It's a really difficult one. No, I mean, I can tell you, but I don't feel like I'm going to give you what you want.
Whatever.
Why would you want to know if they're emerging or not? Shouldn't you just enjoy the work?
Yeah, okay, but like a lot of people buy art thinking like I'm not spending, I'm investing as well. You know what I mean? People like to have the security of I can justify like forking out this massive amount if I'm not going to lose money on the artwork. You know what I mean?
I think I know how to answer this question.
Okay,
so I think it's really important that
that you talk into the mic.
I think it's right. I feel like a glass of wine later. I think it's really important that if you're interested in artists and you really like their art, it's really important for you to, as a buyer of work, to invest in an artist that you just naturally and instinctively feel is a good artist. You're doing that artist a favor because you're giving them an emotional and hopefully a monetary support if you're buying their work. And that'll naturally uplift their emotional and practical painting making. It'll make them make works. So it's funny. It's like if you're a patron, you can make or break artists, and by giving them by commissioning them or by asking them to make paintings will naturally make them a strong artist and make them an emerging artist. Plus, I also think artists emerge at different times. I think we're all searching for the young artists that are emerging, and there's so much of like, well, I'm not sure why.
That's interesting. Yeah.
He's emerging exactly, but I've heard that he's emerging, so I think he's emerging.
Yeah.
But so that's a tough one. So you're like, well, okay, this artist is somehow fallen like a Tetris block perfectly into space, where they seem to come out of art school and their voice is perfectly formed. But why? Yeah. Why is that perfectly formed? Or why did an artist who's doing really well now? I mean, I don't know if I'm wrong on this, but wasn't Lucian Freud an artist who really caught traction with his work much later in his career? Actually, I don't know if I could be talking shit there.
I don't know.
I think he did. And there also can be a curse against, I want to say, young emerging artists who really emerge fully fledged, almost without knowing that they're fully fledged, and then burst into flames and then disappear because of whatever. I'm not sure why. But then you've got artists who are maybe really pushing to become artists and to get their what they want to say out there, but they're through unlucky circumstances they're kind of pushed to the side. And then you see those artists grow later on. You don't know like how to.
So it's a complex question.
To do that, it is a complex question. I just feel like if you are loving an artist and what they're saying and who they are and what they're making, that'll be an emerging artist for you. Might not be an emerging artist for someone else. But if it's an emerging artist that's just boom, exploded out of the door, they're making this work that really says stuff about, whatever right now, it's current, and they're really talented. They've got that perfect balance between being disciplined and having that natural talent, and they can make it. And they just carry on that momentum on and on and on and on and on throughout their career. Those are amazing people. I'd say I want to say that they're sprinkled with a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
I would say that if you had to ask them, they might not even know exactly maybe why. But if you've got that recipe in a person, it can work really well. So yeah, it's a bit of a loaded question. I feel like I don't know how to answer that.
Okay, cool.
Exactly.
No,
Sorry.
No,
just invest in who you love.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the same thing with startups, investing in businesses. Like, invest in businesses that you believe in, like that doing a good thing, or that you believe in there, and then you're likely to stick with them and through the ups and downs, and
exactly.
It's the holistic way to invest. To believe in actually believe in the thing, not just be like, I can make a quick buck or whatever.
No, believe in them throughout. Yeah, be a patron to that
exactly.
artist.
That's what I want this podcast to emphasize as well. It's not about flipping art. It's not about making a profit quickly. About buying and selling art. It's about investing for the long term, like you would a company.
Yeah, I mean, I have patrons that are amazingly. And I'm in awe and so grateful that they love my work and they keep on coming back to me. And that means a huge amount to my career, a huge amount. And if I didn't have that, how much darker would this world be? It's a dark place without those people. And I treat them well, they treat me well. So yeah, I mean, it's the artist as well. You can't, you need to be good to your patrons.
Yeah. If you could have any 3 artists, dead or alive, over for dinner, who would they be?
The ones who like to party. Andy Warhol, I think Salvador Dali.
That's a good answer. I mean, that's how I would feel as well. Yeah, and your third one?
Oh my gosh. God, what else? I mean, I think they all like to party, don't they? I hope, hopefully. A third artist I'd like for dinner. Well, I would like to see my mom again.
Oh, wow.
For dinner.
Yeah.
That would be really, really amazing. Because my mom tops everyone else.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a cheat answer, but...
Okay, so the next round is a rapid fire no think yes or no round.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So you have to say yes or no.
Okay.
There'll be 1 million people on Mars before we die.
No.
Work-life balance.
Yes.
The Earth is definitely flat.
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Isn't it?
One day, people won't age past their prime.
No.
People should give up shaking hands forever.
No.
Art critics are a valuable and crucial net benefit to society.
This is a trick question. Oh. I like constructive criticism.
Okay. Well, you're very mature.
You're very good.
You're very mature. Well, thanks so much.
Constructive criticism.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure. Chris, thank you very much for having me.
Awesome.
And it's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Until next time.
Yes, until next tomorrow, yes.